the Australia specials, and knew this was something I wanted to do from the beginning, to work with exotic and endangered animals. I can even attest to my first words not even being mom or dad, but dog. Well, leading up to the process of going to Africa and wanting to work with animals, it all started pretty much in the summer of 2004. December 3rd, 2003, my father died of a heart attack in New York. And because of that, I decided to go to a summer camp out in Ohio that my grandmother told my mother about. So, in fact, if my father did not die that day, then I probably would not have known anything I do today about animals or have the same passion that I have today about animals. I started going to summer camp at the Wilds Wilde Camp in Cumberland, Ohio, starting in 2004. I tried out their first program, Critter Corps, which was when little 10 to 12-year-old kids ran around, just pretty much all about conservation. From there I progressed to Extreme Camp, which was backpacking there, and then eventually it led to veterinarian camp. Veterinarian camp is when I found my pinpoint on what I wanted to do with animals at the time, which was becoming a veterinarian. After about 8 years of going to the wilds every summer, the head veterinarian there, Dr. Barb Wolf, offered me an internship when I turned 18. And of course, I took it as soon as I could. And these are just some of the photos that progressed from my internship. On the top left is a female cheetah named Queen, and that was in the middle of her procedure when it truly hit me that I'm definitely loving what I'm doing. And right next to Queen is another cheetah, about 9 months old. That's part of the Columbus Zoo's program that comes to the wilds. And then to the right of the cheetah in the middle is a gray fox. And on the bottom left are 2 Indian rhinos. And the bottom right is a very endangered species of deer called a paradata deer. That's a baby named Pete. So all this progressing into that made me realize exactly what I wanted to do in the future, was work with animals exactly like this. So I had a plan to start out as a veterinarian and do veterinarian medicine, hopefully at a zoo. I started going to the University of Findlay from freshman to sophomore year with an animal science and pre-vet medicine degree. In my sophomore year, I found out veterinarian medicine was not quite my way to go. A lot of different reasons led up to it, but I knew that I still wanted to work with animals very passionately. So after that, I left the University of Findlay and decided to take a gap year. And I knew from the very start that I wanted a full year in Africa. After my first course that I looked up was NOLS, National Outdoor Leadership Service, I believe. And they had a program to Africa for backpacking and pretty much survival. But for the good thing for me is that didn't quite work out, and I found a place called Carpe Diem Education where they had this latitudes program, where the first semester you go with the group to Africa for the particular East Africa program, and then you're on your own for the second half of the year. So I departed for Africa for the first semester, September 17th, 2013. The first semester, I landed in Entebbe, Uganda, September 19th. It was a very long couple of days of traveling. The initial flight was about 16 hours and very boring. After being in Uganda we were in Uganda from September 19th to October 20th. Then progressing from Uganda, we walked over the border into Rwanda October 20th and left Rwanda flying to Tanzania on October 24th. I landed in Tanzania October 24th and was there until December 9th when I came back home for winter break. And then also Zanzibar at the end from November 30th to December 7th, which is part of Tanzania. For the second half of the semester, I went to South Africa and decided to work at a place called Kariga Game Reserve. It's a very difficult to say. But the first part of the trip, second semester, I landed in Port Elizabeth, South Africa, for February 17th, 2014. From there, I traveled to Kenton-on-Sea to start at Kariega Game Reserve, or Kurika is how they say it. On March 15th, I traveled to Plattsburgh in South Africa to cage dive with great white sharks at the famous Seal Island that is always shown in Shark Week. Every once in a while, I would take trips to Grahamstown, Port Alfred, and Kenton-on-Sea when the chance arose. And then, after my second semester, I traveled to Tanzania for a week and Kenya for a week with my mother from May 2nd to May 16th, and finally came home May 18th. One of the most amazing things I noticed while I was over there, of course, is the culture. It's fantastic. Everyone is extremely friendly. You can walk down the street and everyone will smile at you, and a lot of the time stare at you, but it was amazing. Before you interact with someone, it's always about the relationship first. They could be a complete stranger, but everyone wants to know, how's your morning, how's your day, how's work? It's fantastic. So, everyone sort of has this way of being interested in one another before they transact with anything. When you do something, when you shake hands, you use your spoon, or you receive things or give things only with your right hand, because it's said that your left hand is dirty because that's the wiping hand. So that's why everyone uses their right hand primarily over there. Respect is very big in their culture as well. For the elders, when you see them, you say "Shikamon," and you tap on their head. And the literal translation of that is, I bow to you because of what you have gone through in life, your experience, what you have been through, and I respect you for that. And the response to someone that is younger than you is marahaba, which literally means, you may rise. Thank you. So that part of the culture is very important. Respect to your elders. It's seen every day. I remember one time there's this man walking in where I did my homestay, Kanani Village in Tanzania, and all the time people would go to that man and say "Shikamon," and he was one of the eldest men in the community, and it was a huge amount of respect that everyone had for him because of his wisdom and his age. As far as more respect and greetings, when they're established, whenever you meet someone, you would say "Mambo VP," it's kind of like, "Hey, what's up, how are you?" But you say something in a respectful way when you talk to someone. Hujambo is usually the formal way of saying hello. Everyone thinks it's Jambo when they go over there, but the formal way to say it is Hujambo. And the response is "Si Jambo." The translation of that would be, "Do you have any worries? Si Jambo." I have no worries. So, as far as thank you, there's Asante Sana. I'm sure a lot of you know that from Lion King. Tribes and languages. There are so many tribes over there, you cannot wrap your head around it. Everywhere you go, someone is from a new tribe, and everywhere you walk is someone is talking about their particular tribe when you first meet them. As far as education, it's interesting. Uganda has their primary language, their national language is English, and then second would be whatever your tribal tongue would be. And then in Uganda, they are taught English from primary school to secondary school. So everyone learns English at an early age on, and then it's easier in university. As far as Rwanda, a lot of people know French, so their education system is you're taught English and a little bit of French as well, along with your tribal tongue. The important thing is when kids are little, they're taught their tribal tongue by their parents, and as soon as they go to school is when they start to actually learn English or another language. As far as food, it's amazing. They can do the most amazing thing with rice and beans you have ever imagined. I had a lot of rice and beans when I was over there, and the flavor that they can put into rice and beans is outstanding. So, for those of you who may not know, that's Africa right there. The particular region I went to is circled in red in East Africa. The particular region in East Africa I went to was comprised of Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. They're all very close to each other. As far as my time in Uganda, I first started in Entebbe near number 1, and then proceeded to Jinja Town, which is perfect for someone with red hair, where I worked with soft power education and also whitewater rafted the Nile River. From Jinja Town, I went up to Rhino Fund, Uganda, and right near Nakitoma to work with southern white rhinos for about a week. After Nakitoma, I went to Kampala, the capital, and proceeded from Kampala to Kabale, where Lake Bunyoni and SNEC is. SNEC is a special needs education center where a lot of Ugandans help the community with people with mental disabilities. So Uganda. These are the first pictures I took while I was in Uganda. And the top left is one of only 2 paved roads in Entebbe, Uganda. The top right is just a little sampling of some of the local food. And the bottom left, you can see the hospitality and the welcoming and friendliness of Ugandans. We literally walked from our hotel down to the restaurants in town. And this girl, Alice, in the orange shirt said, "I want to be your friend. Can I take a picture with you?" She was very happy, smiling at us the entire time. It was amazing, just the friendliness you can experience over there. The bottom right is where we stayed at a place called Frank's Backpackers. And most places in East Africa, wherever you go to stay, there's a wall surrounding the area, usually with barbed wire on top or even broken glass put on top, just for a measure of safety in case. The top left photo is this random little boy who decided to show me his school one day. This is in Jinja Town. We were walking along the path, and my friend Fred and I somehow ended up having the most amazing experiences with the locals over there. This little boy tugged on our hand, and he said, "I want to show you my school." So we went along, and it was one of the best experiences of my life, just how friendly a little boy could be, and to show him his town. On the top right is the source of the Nile River. So there are 2 rivers that flow into the Nile River, and on the top right is one of the sources of the Nile River. And the bottom photos are us rafting the Nile River. We did a lot of projects for the program I did abroad. The very first project, service project we did was it was working at a primary school, and we helped paint the entire school since that's what they needed. There's this foundation called Soft Power Education, and they work with local schools and communities to have people come in and do service work and to really focus on what that particular school needs from us. Instead of coming in and just building a school, they ask what the real problems and needs are from the people. So what this particular school needed us to do was paint the entire school. On the top left is where we slept. We slept on the floor with just bedding and mosquito nets. And then the top right is sort of part of the process of painting the entire school building. It was completely cement before, there was no coloration on it at all. And we painted 2 white base coats and then proceeded with tan and then blue on the bottom. Every school in Uganda that I saw pretty much had the same coloration to it. It's always tan and blue. And then from Soft Power Education, we went to Rhino Fund, Uganda. Southern white rhinos are completely endangered in Uganda. They used to be present in Uganda a while ago, but they no longer are until this new program, Rhino Fund Uganda, came in and started to work with 7 white rhinos to put them back in their natural habitat. The top left, I love this part, the top left, there are 2 rhinos in the photo, and on the right, the little blob, is a rhino named Obama. They call him Obama because his father is a Kenyan rhino and his mother is an American rhino. And on the top right is Obama. So I can successfully say I've taken a photo with Obama. On the bottom left is a crash of rhino. That's what a group of rhino are called. And we worked with them a lot for the time being. We were there for a week, and we pretty much went in the field with them and studied their movements, what they ate. We literally wrote everything down. And all of my friends with me in the group absolutely hated this process, but I loved it. Even just watching them, sit for about an hour was interesting to me. The rhinos are always present with the ranger, which is in the bottom right photo. So they always have a guard, and there's usually 2 to 3 rangers with them at all times in Uganda, because they are so endangered. You cannot see the other 2 rangers at all because they're, one, very well hidden, and they try to stay a little distance from the rhinos in order to protect them in case anyone goes for them. And then from Rhino Fund Uganda, I proceeded to Kampala, the capital of Uganda. And it's always busy. I know some of you have experienced New York rush hour, but I'm not sure if you can imagine the 2 top left photos. It's easier to get around walking than taking some mode of transport. On the bottom left is just a shot actually from the mosque on the bottom right. And on the top right is just a shot of the crowd and what it's like on the street. The mosque there was funded actually by Gaddafi. It was built by Gaddafi for the Ugandan people, and over there they love Gaddafi. They think he is amazing because of some of the examples of the mosque that he's built for them. So they have quite a different perspective on some national sorts. And then from Kampala, we proceeded to SNEC. SNEC is the Special Needs Education Center, and our particular task assigned to us by SNEC was to build a walkway. So on the top middle photo, we made that path out of nothing. We literally carved that path with our own hands. And it proceeded from the top where that building is to the next photo on the left, the building down there, and all the way to the bathrooms on the right side of that photo. On the very top right photo are examples of some of the children who go to SNEC. One of the stories about one of the children, Joel, who is to the left of the girl in the green dress, he has a mental disability. And the story is people in Uganda, and particularly East Africa, don't think of mental disabilities the same as we do in the States or a lot of different countries. They tend to shun people who have some sort of mental illness, and it's very sad. Joel's particular story was he was left in his room his entire life. He's never seen outdoors until this next center came in and decided to help him and give him boarding and teach him. And after our time at SNEC, with getting to know the people in the situation and some of the views and problems with mental illness and education over there, we went to Lake Bunyoni and did a 3-day hiking trip. On the bottom left is the traditional boats that they use. They carve an entire tree into a boat and paddle with those. And on the top right is a view looking out over Lake Bunyoni. I'm sorry, bottom right. From Tanzania, we proceeded to Rwanda. We literally walked right over the border into Rwanda. On the very top of the picture is Tanzania, where Kabale is, and then you follow down to the red line, where we walked over the border into Rwanda. From our border crossing, we went to Kigali, Rwanda, the capital. And then later on from Kigali, we went to Butare. Rwanda was a very interesting place, especially 20 years after the genocide that occurred there. On the bottom left is the famous Hotel Rwanda, Hotel de Mille Collines. And it is also on the bottom right picture. On the top left is a shot from the Mille Collines outlooking Kigali. And an interesting thing that I thought was the night shot. You can see a lot of lights at night in Rwanda. At nighttime, usually, you don't see a lot of lights, even in a city. For instance, when I was in Uganda, we simply only had our headlamps at the soft power education site and no electricity. Most places we went, there was no electricity at nighttime. And then from Kigali, we proceeded to a place called Huye, Butare, and it used to be called Huye back during the time of the genocide. The top left is a photo of the Murambi Genocide Memorial, where we went in Rwanda. At this particular genocide site, about 50,000 people were killed from the time of 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. So all in one morning, 50,000 people were completely killed. The top right is a shot of the university there, where people took shelter and thought they would be safe from their killers. And on the bottom left is a plaque that shows where the French had their operations during the genocide in Operation Turquoise. And on the bottom right are houses at the genocide memorial that contain bodies of the people who were killed. This particular genocide memorial is very powerful because they have put lime over the bodies to preserve them and to show people the tragedies of what happened during them 20 years ago. It was a very interesting experience. In fact, it was one of my most spiritual experiences I've ever had. When we walked to the genocide memorial, all of a sudden a cloud storm came in and it started to thunder, and the wind picked up and the roofs were flapping up and down as if saying, you know, this is where we were 20 years ago. So it was very powerful for me that day. The next photo is actually a picture of some of the bodies. So I just wanted to give some of you a fair warning. If you would not like to see that, then in a few minutes, in a few seconds, I will be switching to that slide. So if you do not want to see that, I would suggest to not look right now. This is a photo of some of the bodies actually covered in lime. And they're actually squished because there were 5 mass graves, and each mass grave was piled with 10,000 bodies in it. So the bodies were crushed due to the weight. Okay, that's so for people who don't want to look anymore, it's safe to now. But that was what the experience was like, and it still smelled like fresh death, even with the lime covered on top. You could still see hair and a few other items as well. It was a very powerful experience, and it's said to be the second most powerful genocide memorial in the world. After going to the genocide memorial in Rwanda, we proceeded to Tanzania. We flew into Dar es Salaam from Kigali, and